Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is another interesting case like Iron Man 3, where the third movie of an individual solo franchise, specifically one of the kind of the big three from Marvel, didn't necessarily do it for me the first time. But looking back, I can attribute that to the fact that this was probably the most drastic change in tone for a third movie in the Marvel franchise. With Civil War, the tone had already pretty much just been established by Winter Soldier, and with the Iron Man movies, it had been such a gap between 2 and 3 that you kind of forgot about everything that happened in 2. But the problem is that, at least with the Thor individual movies, never really saw the success and the acclaim that the Iron Man and the Captain America movies did. And so as a result, it kind of constantly resulted in Thor really having nothing to do in the Avengers movies. So Kevin Feige definitely needed to do a revamp of Thor Ragnarok, and hey, he definitely brought in the right person to do it. But I guess the problem when it comes to me personally is that I liked the first Thor movie. And when I saw that Taika Waititi was being brought in to direct this movie, I loved What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm like, cool, I have no idea how he's gonna do this. And what he did was he basically took the influence from the first couple of Thor movies and kind of threw it right out the window. Because he basically turned what was like originally like this, majestic, very, Shakespearean-esque drama, and basically turned it into like an 80s rock metal cover. And hey, it worked, because for a lot of people, this is their favorite Marvel movie. For me though, even though I really came around on it the second time, and I really do understand like the magic that this movie has, the problem is that it's one of the few instances where a director's influence almost gets in the way of this movie's success. But don't get me wrong, this is a supremely well done movie. And the fact that Taika is able to get away with half the stuff that he gets away with in this movie is awesome. But the problem is that there are still a lot of instances in this movie where the humor, unlike the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, seems to get in the way and almost undercut some of the more interesting dramatic pieces. Not to mention the fact that apparently he is so disinterested in the main plot that he basically takes the entire middle half and makes it a Planet Hulk movie. Not to mention the fact that besides this being the first time that Thor's actually been interesting in the MCU, you actually get like an actually like really interesting continuation of the Hulk in this movie. Don't get me wrong, like I said, this movie, there was a lot to love. Taika's clearly a very likable director. Like, it's very clear that all the actors that were involved in this had an absolute blast. The whole thing plays out almost like it's like this weird acid trip dream. Like, nobody's talking like how human beings do. Like, they're all improvising every 3 seconds. But it's almost like a situation where, this is a criticism that I heard applied to Guardians 2, but I feel like it applies to this movie much more so, which is that this movie thinks that it's a lot funnier than it really is. Because while some of the jokes land and are really funny, some of the other ones, not so much. Again, it is a very entertaining, like, blast of a thrill ride. Like, if you want to watch a Marvel movie just to turn your brain off and have an absolute blast with and enjoy, like, all these crazy visuals and all this nutso, like, subject matter, then this is absolutely the movie that I would recommend. But the other thing, too, and I don't know if this is just me, but I know a lot of people were praising Cate Blanchett and Tessa Thompson in this movie, but those two, to me, stuck out both like sore thumbs. Like, everyone criticized every single villain, and rightfully so in Phase 2, but I'm like, so wait, Hela gets a pass because it's Cate Blanchett and Thor Ragnarok, so everybody likes it? Because as far as generic Marvel villains go, Cate Blanchett is as generic as they get. It's just a matter of she's so invulnerable that she becomes almost like uninteresting as a character. Literally, she's so invulnerable to the point where the heroes have to cheat in order to beat her. And Tessa Thompson stopped giving a crap about actually giving an interesting performance after Creed. Don't get me wrong, this is still a very, very enjoyable movie. There's a lot to love about it. The visuals are off the charts insane. The humor for the most part works. Jeff Goldblum, oh my god, Jeff Goldblum. And again, I like how they were able to kind of take like this new tone that Thor as a character had and kind of mesh that in with a lot of the future Marvel movies. I'm actually really glad how they were able to pull that off, because I thought it wasn't going to work out as well as it did. I get how a lot of people really like this movie, but to me, it still isn't my favorite Marvel movie. It's very, very good and enjoyable, but it's not great. I give this movie 4 stars. Captain Marvel. That's right. Upon rewatch, I like Captain Marvel more than Captain America Civil War. I know. Stop the presses, shoot me now, but let me at the very least explain myself first. Now, this was a movie that was kind of screwed right out of the gate for reasons that frankly had nothing to do with the movie's quality. But taking the movie as a whole itself, I was actually really, really impressed the second time watching this. Does it have some humor moments that don't work? Of course it does. Is the action a little overblown, effects heavy, and incomprehensive? Of course, but this is Marvel in 2019 that we're talking about. Nobody should be surprised by that. And look, I'll admit, the handling of the message overall did get a little bit unsubtle at points. But if not for the fact that the movie was giving such a different kind of an approach to a female lead superhero, to me at least, that's what really carries this through. Because yes, of all the things that Marvel destroyed DC on, DC did do the first job of getting to the lead female superhero before Marvel did. But when you think about what this movie's actually about, which is basically this human woman getting abducted by an alien race and gaslit in order to fight a war for them because she's secretly like the most powerful being in the universe. Not to mention the fact that said race that she's fighting for, who she has been told has been this race of noble warriors, is actually like this super oppressive, kind of semi-evil, empiristic regime. That actually sets itself up for like a pretty compelling arc that we haven't seen before in the Marvel-verse, let alone a superhero movie. Far be it for me to criticize a superhero movie for actually trying to tell a story about gaslighting. That's impressive to me. And if you think about it, the whole movie is like that because it's also felt from the angle of the Skrulls. And it's actually almost kind of ingenious how Marvel does that because it plays around with the traditionally well-known struggle between the Kree and the Skrulls. Because everybody and their mother knew that as soon as the Kree and the Skrulls were announced to be in this movie, they were like, oh, we're finally gonna get Secret Invasion. And while I love the comic Secret Invasion, honestly, the twist that Marvel pulled with the bait and switch with the Kree and the Skrulls might be one of their best villain twists that they've ever done. Like, ever since the Mandarin, Marvel was determined to actually do, like, a good and interesting, different type of a villain twist. And to me, like, they nailed it here. Especially when you consider, like, the deeper implications of, like, you know, the Skrulls being, you know, they're shapeshifters, so they're automatically mistrusted. And they actually play around and flip that on its head when they reveal them to be, like, this oppressed, like, subsect, almost extinct species. It's a really interesting struggle. It's different for a superhero movie, and it really kills me how people were so pissed off by Brie Larson's comments that it made them overlook a lot of the good things in this movie. And what's even more baffling is the fact that people said that Captain Marvel didn't have an arc. If anything, this is the first Phase 3 hero to have an arc that rivals one of the Phase 1 movies. Because unlike a majority of the other Phase 3 movies, this was an origin story, and unlike Doctor Strange, it was actually pretty interesting and actually really fun. Obviously, there's nothing on the Guardians movies in terms of how it uses the soundtrack, but the soundtrack was pretty fun. The acting was really good for the most part. A few performances didn't stick out, mostly just because the humor kind of got in the way a little bit. Ben Mendelsohn actually does a supremely solid job in this movie. It almost sucks that I can't count him as a villain because of the twist, obviously, with the Skrulls, because he does a great job with the performance. But even Jude Law, once he's kind of revealed to be like kind of her main like oppressor, I mean, it technically doesn't count because it's kind of like a Robert Redford in Winter Soldier, in the Winter Soldier situation, and that he really is just the figurehead for the greater organization of evil that is the Kree. But yeah, this to me is the definition of a movie that was very much misunderstood and kind of overlooked as a result of it. It was also unfortunately the only Marvel movie where the celebrity influence and BS kind of seeped into the movie itself. But yeah, I was really shocked by how much I liked this movie on the second time. Brie Larson, to me, she's not great, but she definitely showed off her acting chops. And yeah, this was a really solid, enjoyable movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
Alright guys, that was my latest ranking of my MCU rankings list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to click the like button and the subscribe button. Follow Talkin TV on all our other links. We're on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the description below. And be sure to keep coming back for more quality content such as this. Have fun, stay safe, and as always, watch more fucking movies.